Hello, I'm Sky Matsuhashi, founder of SmartPokerStudy.com, the place for poker players who are always striving to be better today than they were yesterday. Poker people, in episode 108, I showed you what to look for when fighting back against your opponent's 3-bet aggression. If you missed it, download and listen, peeps. Hey, poker people, thanks for listening. I love how you help the show by subscribing in iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or even Google Play, and YouTube as well, everywhere. You guys are subscribing in droves. You are telling friends, they're hearing about me, and you're hearing about me from other podcasts, and you're deciding to check this one out, and I love it all, baby. Keep it up. So right now it is, of course, Q&A time. Every week, people send me questions, and I choose a select few to discuss on the podcast. But even if I don't use your question on the show, I always reply with in-depth answers. So keep sending those questions in, and I'll keep throwing some A's your way. Oh, and stay tuned, because after question 1, I'm going to tell you how you can observe a study session of mine on Twitch. It'll be coming up next week, and in the study session, we're going to study playing in the blinds. And that should it should kind of prep you for next week's episode on minimum effective dose number 4, which is all about blind play. Alrighty, so today I'm featuring 3 questions from some super duper poker peeps. Visit the show notes at www.smartpokerstudy.com/pod109 for links to everything I discussed today, and to join the weekly boost for exclusive poker strategy delivered directly to your inbox.
And now for our feature presentation.
Alrighty, so question number 1 today comes to us from Dennis Livingston. Hey Sky, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your podcasts. I started regularly playing 1-2 cash games a few months ago, and they have really helped me to improve as a player and learn to think on higher levels when playing. Unfortunately, I'm a college student who is currently trying to find the funds to play their way through college, so I do not have access of money to afford a poker coach or purchase memberships on any websites. As a future educator and a college student seeking a degree in education, I really value learning and know the importance of it. I know I need to do more than just play poker to become better. I need to study it and learn how to act in the various situations I am put in while playing. The issue is that I'm not quite sure how to go about learning the skills I need to in order to become a consistently winning poker player. I know there's a lot of websites that I could pay for and join to learn about poker, such as Red Chip Poker and Float the Turn by Jonathan Little. But those all cost money, and I'm not sure I will receive a return on my investment, and really don't have the funds to afford to pay for those if I won't profit from it in the long run. From listening to your podcasts, I know that you understand the value of learning and studying the game. I was wondering if you could help me develop a study plan that I could do to learn more about poker and make me a better player. Thanks, Dennis Livingston. Alrighty, thank you very much for contacting me, Dennis, and I am totally more than happy to help you out with a plan. And since you've been listening to the podcasts, I know that you know about my current minimum effective dose series going on right now, and you also know how I feel about the benefits of online poker, as well as using Poker Tracker 4 and using Flopzilla. So here's my 4-step plan for you to improve your game with minimal cost. So step number 1 is open an account on America's Card Room, and they have games as low as 2NL, which is 1 cent, 2 cent. I know you're playing the $1, $2 cash games right now, but this is just 1 cent, 2 cent. And this is where your poker journey will begin, and you'll be working on your poker skills as you play. You'll start understanding opponents, and you'll be putting to use exploits you learn from your time studying away from the tables. But one key thing you need to remember: don't think of this as an opportunity to make money. You need to treat this as an opportunity to learn and improve your game. You can skip the 2NL games and start at 5NL. And actually, I would recommend that. If you put on if you deposit $200, which is probably your normal buy-in at the 1-2 live games, if you put that much on, you'll have 40 buy-ins at the 5NL level. So I really recommend you start at 5NL. You can start at 1 cent, 2 cent if you want 2NL, but start at 5NL with a $200 bankroll. And incidentally, I would love it if you went through my America's Card Room affiliate link. There's no additional cost to you, but I get credit for your play, so I'd really appreciate that. Go to www.smartpokerstudy.com/ACR and click the link there to download and create your own account. And don't do play money. I really have to stress that. Skip the play money. Don't even bother. If you want to learn the feel of the buttons and clicking and timing and stuff, just start at 2NL. Don't do play money at all. You'll never learn from this, guaranteed. And then, after you create your account and everything, make that $200 deposit and start with one or two tables in the cash games. Start with one at first, but then, increase it to 2 and 3 as you become more comfortable. And the cost so far, I know you're a college student and everything. I remember back when I was in college, not much money at all, but the cost so far is just $200. But you shouldn't really consider it a cost because, it's your money. You still have it on the site. You have control of it, but we'll just count it as a cost for now. So step number 2 is get Poker Tracker 4 so that you can start learning from your hand histories and your play on America's Card Room. And I recommend to just buy the small stakes hold'em package for $60 because you can always upgrade later as you move up in stakes. And you can't learn from your play without this software, and it is the best available. If you purchase through my affiliate link, and this goes for everyone listening, of course, I will send you my Smart HUD for free so you can use it at the tables, and I'll send you links on how to use it. Just some videos that I've put together on the Smart HUD and on Poker Tracker 4. And once you have the software, the day following every session you play, I want you to spend 1 hour with Poker Tracker 4 reviewing the biggest winning and losing pots, and as well as, any difficult spots that you encountered. Your goal here with this study time is to learn from your mistakes and take notes as you go. And for everyone, my affiliate is www.smartpokerstudy.com/PokerTracker4. And I know it might sound like I'm trying to sell everybody on products to enrich myself, but that's not the case at all. Everyone who knows me knows that I believe and I use these products every single day and every single study session that I study, and every play session with Poker Tracker 4, of course. It's just that if you're going to get them, you might as well use my links to help support the show, and I really appreciate that. So the cost so far, $200 deposit on ACR and $60 for Poker Tracker 4, $260. So step 3 is to get Flopzilla. And this is the best software for learning ranges, range versus range, and range versus hand equities as well. You'll also learn how ranges and hands interact with boards. And using this program, it'll naturally train your mind to begin visualizing ranges as you play it, while you're at the tables, either online or live. And the cost is only $35, and it's worth every single penny. So the cost so far is $295. $200 deposit, $60 Poker Tracker 4, $35 Flopzilla. Okay, so step 4, the final step, is I want you, Dennis, and everyone listening, I want you to follow the minimum effective dose series, starting with episode 90. 87 was the very first episode, but that was just kind of an intro to the whole MED series. But your studies really should start with episode 90. If you take 1 full week to study each MED episode, you will be a complete player by the time I finish out the series with MED number 10, which is going to be about the poker mindset. And I really am serious about spending 1 episode per week, or, dedicating all the week study to that 1 episode. Episode 90 was about creating opening ranges. So if you spend a full week studying opening ranges, by creating your own ranges by position, spending a week studying ranges and the strengths of hands and ranges and how they compare to other ranges, all that kind of stuff. If you spend a full week on all that, you will be such a stronger player, way stronger than most of the players online, and probably, 7 out of the other 8 tables on your full ring live cash game as well. And that's just after 1 week of study on opening ranges, The next week will be spent studying, figuring out your calling ranges. Then the next will be your 3-bet ranges. Each of these really does deserve a full week of study because they're so integral to a solid player's game, which is what I want you to be, Dennis. I want you to be a solid player. And by a week of study, I really recommend 1 hour per day, every single day. Drop some TV shows if you have to, but find the time to fit this in. So the total cost of my 4 steps right here is a one-time cost of $295 and 1 hour per day of study. And basically, it's actually like $95 cost because at $200 you still own and control. It's just within ACR there, But I guess it's money out of your pocket, leaving that wallet right now. So $295 is the cost. And so for Dennis and for everyone else, please start this journey ASA mother effing P. Get on it starting tomorrow, or even today if you're listening to this in the AM, I know it might feel like a step back playing 2NL, or even a 5NL if you're going there. But you will thank me for this as you move up in stakes, because your bankroll is going to be increasing. You're going to be developing solid poker skills, and all of that is going to take you super far in poker. So good luck with the plan, Dennis, and for everyone else. And Dennis, because I gave you this specific plan, please let me know how it goes. Ask me any questions week to week. Whatever the case is, I want to make sure you succeed, buddy. Okay, if you want to see how I study with my good study buddy Dennis Peterson, you'll have to check out his Twitch stream at www.twitch.tv/profishpoker. We're going to stream our next study session this coming Monday, December 5th at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to be studying blind play within tournaments, the tournament structure. And Dennis and I have been studying via Skype for a while now, and since he just opened up his Twitch stream, I figured it's a great opportunity to hopefully get lots of eyeballs on it. He's planning on streaming his poker study sessions as well as cash and tournament online sessions, This guy, he totally knows his stuff, so please check him out over there on Twitch. You can hit up his page this weekend and click that follow button right there so that you'll be notified on Monday when we go live. So once again, that's www.twitch.tv/profishpoker. Go there, follow him so that you could see our live streaming study session on Monday the 5th at 6 p.m. So it's time for a quick Patreon plug. If you support me on Patreon, you can get some exclusive poker strategy content that I won't deliver anywhere else. There are different levels of support, and with each level comes different exciting rewards. At $5, you get a Patreon exclusive podcast. At $15, you get the podcast and a training video. And at the magnificent $50 level, you get the podcast, a video, and a full 1.5-hour webinar. Every month I have a different theme for the content that I deliver. And November's theme was Getting Aggressive. So my November supporters will receive a podcast, a video, and a webinar telling them why and how to up their aggression with 2 bets, 3 bets, and beyond, of course. And for December's theme, well, if you're an online microstakes player like Dennis we just talked about, this theme is going to be right up your alley because the December theme is Mashing the Micros. That's right, I'll dive into all the things you should be doing as a microstakes player to earn more at the tables and to build your bankroll, build those skills so that you can move up and get out of there. So to learn more or to support me, please visit www.patreon.com/smartpokerstudy. And a quick shout out, my man Cam. He is a godsend, and I'm sure this is the start of something wonderful. Cam decided to pledge 20 bones per month to support the show. And you rock super hard for this, buddy. With the back and forth that we've had, it's obvious you're a man after my own heart, and we've got the same attitude towards poker study and bettering ourselves. I'm happy to know you, buddy, and I'm looking forward to the future. Okay, question 2 comes from Clay Bigelow. Poker gigolo. That's a slam dunk. Sorry about that, Clay. That was actually a bad joke. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sure when Deuce Bigelow came out, you probably got that 20 times a day from 30 different people. Wait, does that make sense? No, 30 times a day from 20 different people, whatever the case is. So I'm sorry. I'll probably just delete this from the podcast. You'll never hear this, everybody. So actually, I take back that apology, Clay, because nobody's going to hear that joke. So Clay goes on to say, good podcasts. I have listened to almost all of them. Just starting to play with Flopzilla. How do you make decisions about increasing range size by position? Is there a mathematical justification for increasing by certain amounts per position? Thanks. Well, that's a great question, Clay. I really appreciate it. So, to be honest, when I first came up with my ranges, I used percentages that I found online from various coaches. I didn't know enough to really come up with my own percentages of how much I should open in the early positions, cutoff, button, blah, blah, blah. Then I ended up reading Ed Miller's book, The Course, which I talked about in this podcast here. And if you missed any of those episodes, you've got to hear them. We started with The Course way back on episode 22. But anyway, when I read The Course, I tailored my ranges to fit his recommended percentages because Ed Miller knows his shit. So, why would I do anything different than what he says, basically? I made some tweaks to the hands within it, but my percentages remain just about what he recommended. And I didn't use any kind of mathematical reasoning behind my range percentages. I kind of just went with his and then added and subtracted hands to arrive at my final percentages. And my final opening percentages are, in the early position, I'm at 14%. In the cutoff, I'm at 24%. On the button, I'm at 36% opening. And in the blinds, I raise over limpers at about 7%. But I raise first in, when everybody folds all the way through the button, and I'm the first one to act in the small blind. I'm raising first in about 30% of the time. But I'll increase that based on who the big blind is. If they fold to a ton of steals, I'll raise 40, 50, 60, 70% if necessary, But getting back to your question about making the decision to increase your ranges by position, there are a few reasons I believe this is necessary. So, as your position gets later, there's less players left to act behind you, which means less potential for callers or facing a 3-bet from someone. Another reason is stealing the blinds and the antes is so important. So opening wider ranges allows you to steal more, which is also good because your opponents can put you on a steal when you've actually got a great value hand, if you stole the last 5 buttons and suddenly you're dealt pocket aces and open on the button again, well, that big blind player might say, screw this, to hell with this guy. He's been raising every single one of my big blinds. I'm fighting back. And then bam, your aces come into play and you snap up some killer value there. Another reason to increase the range as the positions go on is it makes you unpredictable. Especially versus players who don't understand that your range is increasing by position. A lot of those fish out there, especially in the micros, they don't understand ranges. They just look at a hand and, oh, I like this hand. I'll play it from early position, cutoff, button, small blind, big blind. They don't understand that ranges should increase as you go. And another reason is if you just stick to kind of a nitty, value-oriented range in every position, you will be too easy to exploit by good players. When a player only raises 4% of hands, we know what the guy's got. It's basically jacks are better and ace queen suited, whatever. We can easily take advantage of guys like that. And you also asked about a mathematical justification for increasing your range by certain percentages. Well, the mathematical justification I can give you is that you want to defend versus 3-bets enough to make your opponent indifferent to 3-bet bluffing you. And that means that from their perspective, a 3-bet bluff doesn't appear to be automatically profitable. So if your opening range, let's say you're opening 300 combos of hands, then you need to defend with 200 hands to make your opponent indifferent to bluffing you. And the reason why is a standard 3x 3-bet bluff. Let's say, you make it 3 big blinds and he makes it 9 big blinds. Well, that 9 big blind bluff needs to work 67% of the time as a straight bluff. If you're defending less than 200 hands, then you're folding more than 67%, making any 3-bet bluff of his automatically profitable. So as your position gets later, you'll be able to defend more because there's less players who can 3-bet you in position. With wider defending ranges, you can increase your opening range so that you're defending at that magical 67%, or roughly there, So good luck, Clay, and thanks for that question. And now the final question today comes to us from Robert Anderson. Mr. Anderson says, one of the situations I'm struggling with recently is big wired pairs before the flop. These hands are getting beat routinely lately. How do I know they aren't good anymore post-flop, and how do I get away from them as cheaply as possible? And that's why it makes it more difficult in capped buy-in games, because by the time you put in a sizable raise or re-raise, a lot of your stack is already in the pot. Any input would be greatly appreciated. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems these situations with big pairs after the flop are some of the most difficult to read, especially out of position. I don't know how you find the time to answer all of your mail, much less respond considering what you have on your plate. Sincerely, Robert Anderson. Hey, it's my pleasure to help out a fellow poker player, Robert. Plus, it gives me content for the great podcast. So thanks for that question, Mr. Anderson. And geez, once again, I'm going for that easy joke. Anderson and Bigelow. I'm sure you got Mr. Anderson a ton when The Matrix first came out. So, I won't say it again, I promise. Anywho, you are right about those short stacked games. It's so easy in a 3-bet pot to get it in on the turn, and even in a regular 2-bet pot, you don't have much left to bet or bluff on the river, especially if there's any significant action on the prior streets. So when it comes to ditching big pocket pairs post-flop, there are some indications that you can look for to determine if your overpair is actually beat. The first one is know the player that you're up against. If they're doing something characteristic of a big value hand, then you might have to ditch it, If you're up against a calling station, and maybe he suddenly raises or donk leads or bets when you check, then you might be up against a good hand, something stronger than a top pair hand. Try to put your opponent on a pre-flop range and gauge how well that range hits the flop to aid you in this, The next thing you want to do is pay attention to the board and your opponent's likely range. So certain boards are great for pocket aces, and others not so much at all. Of course, you raised pre-flop with those pocket aces. Well, think about it. What kind of hands are going to call raises? Of course, ace-x hands, but, you've got some of those blocked with your aces. What else is going to call? Well, broadways call a lot. Small and medium pocket pairs, and suited connectors as well. So Broadway heavy boards spell a lot of danger for you, as do medium heavy boards because of all the possible two pairs and straight draws that can hit, the suited connectors. It's also hard to spot. It's really hard to spot actually sets. So you'll have to know the player you're up against for that one there. If they have a set, if the flop comes 10 deuce 3, they could easily have a set of deuces or threes. You just don't know until they wake up with some kind of aggression. Maybe until they do something uncharacteristic or something that just spells danger, something just screams value at you, The third thing you need to pay attention to is the more players in the hand, the more dangerous it is. So when you're up against 3 or 4 other players, or even more than that, there are many more chances for one of them to hit a set, 2 pair, a straight or a flush, or even just a really good draw, So you need to be more careful when you're playing in multi-way pots. If someone's willing to put in a lot of money in a multi-way pot, they've often got one pair beat. So that's a big indication. And the last thing I could say is don't get married to big hands. And this isn't an indication that you're beat. It's just a general mindset thing that you want to avoid. We often look down and see pocket aces and we think to ourselves like, all right, gonna win a big pot, baby. So this kind of thinking, it can blind us to clues that we're beat. We're so caught up in the idea of winning and doubling up or tripling up, whatever the case is. We're so caught up in that idea that we miss the signs that we're going to lose. And some of those signs are what we've already discussed, like board texture and ranges, uncharacteristic aggression from opponents, maybe their willingness to passively commit lots of money to the pot if they just keep calling, or their willingness to actively, aggressively commit money to the pot, And also, when you've got the overpair, you can choose to pot control. That's how you're going to save money. When you're in position, you can put out that flop c-bet. And if you think the turn card, maybe it helped your opponent, or you're not really worried that too many rivers can come to ruin your equity, then you can check behind on the turn. Many players lose so much money with overpairs because they feel the need to bet it strong on every street. Lots of players just automatically, pocket aces, I'm going to triple barrel no matter what, You want to avoid that mindset because pocket aces, it's really just one pair after all, so it might not be worth a full 3 streets of value. Alrighty, thanks for that question again, Robert. So thank you so much for listening, and thanks again to Dennis, Clay, and Robert for those killer questions featured today. I hope my answers boost your poker skills. And if you're not already there, you've got to go to the show notes, www.smartpokerstudy.com/pod109, and keep sending those questions in. Alrighty, poker people, be sure to come back next week for the first class in minimum effective dose number 4, which is blind play. We're going to talk small blind, big blind, restealing the ranges, folding, bluffing, everything blind related. Let's get you on a course to improving your win rate in the blinds. And speaking of next week and blind play, don't forget to check out the Pro Fish Poker Twitch stream on Monday the 5th at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. When you go there, you'll be seeing me doing a study session with my study buddy, Dennis. Visit www.twitch.tv/profishpoker to follow Dennis so you don't miss our session. Y'all know that word of mouth is the best advertising, so please keep spreading the word. Let's do some growing. Send your friends to the show notes page to get them started on all that this podcast has to offer. Also, don't forget to visit www.patreon.com/smartpokerstudy. Go there to support the show and to collect some nice monthly rewards. Remember, November's theme was getting aggressive, and December's theme is mashing the micros. Get in on this soon so you don't miss out. Until next time, study smart, play much, and make your next session the best one yet.